call this meeting to order. Everybody stand, please. Jody, will you lead us in prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for every many blessings you bestowed upon us and our county. God, I pray that you be with our nation. Keep your hand over our county. As we're presented this information tonight, help us to think about it, make good decisions for our county. It's your name. Amen.
Amen. Earl, please pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4, roll call, please.
Earl Fox.
Here.
Don Flatford. Here. Kenny Hill.
Bull.
Janet Holloway.
Here.
Larry Lane.
Here.
Becky Muncy. Here. Joe Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Number 5 is approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Got a motion by Jody and second by Kenny. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. Budget amendments and transfers.
I'm back here. Okay, we'll start with page 1 of 12. Page 1 is General Fund 101, primarily moving funds around appropriated budget, entering into the budget $3,000 from the restricted for public safety, the restricted fund, entering $1,000 contribution from United Way into the library fund, and $8,350 into the sheriff's budget for insurance recovery. That is part 1 of Fund 101. We have a second part, and I understood that Mary Beth is going to be here to speak about that, but I don't see her in the audience.
Yeah,
There you are.
Front row.
You got to your look a little bit since I left.
Mary Beth, you will come up.
I'll give you a copy of this.
Yeah, we'll need it on it.
I want everybody to know that we're not going to vote on this tonight. We're just hearing everything that need, all the needs of what they expect in their budget.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I need a part-time person that I'm going to need later on full-time, but right now I've got a situation in my office that it couldn't be helped. I've got a lady that has took off with some very bad medical problems. And me and Ann has moved some figures around in my budget so where we can get through July and hire a part-time helper for right now. We're taking it out of travel, the office supply and equipment, the office equipment, right now to get me through the end of June. That's correct, Ann. And then we'll see where it leads from there. She's took she had a leave, of course, that she was paying for, and so she's getting paid through that leave of absence. And so we're hoping, but we still had to pay her for her sick days, and we're going to have to do the vacation now. We'll get things over we are. So that's going to take, she's still be going to get her pay for right now. So we made the adjustments to the end of June, like I said, for a part-time helper in my office, and that's the amendments that I'm making to my budget tonight. Of course, we'll have to see what happens with her. She's been back to Vanderbilt time or two, and she's been back last week, and she went back yesterday again. It don't look good, so we're just gonna have to do a lot of things change in the office. And so I'm just, we're asking for those changes to be done to the budget tonight to get me through the end of June, and then I'll probably be back. Unfortunately, but
Have you found a person or?
no, this has just happened. This is just, come up on us suddenly. And it's just me and Ann in there right now. And of course, we're due another person in the office anyway, according to our fees in the office, because I am a fee office. And according to that, I am due another employee because of the workload that we have. But right now, we're just going to have to make some adjustments, and me and Ann's come up with that until the end of June. And then, like I said, we'll see what happens there from there on as far as her sickness and what, she's
Mermaid,
took.
you won't know in the next 2 or 3 weeks whether you need a full-time or not.
Well, I'll have to have a full-time back for her,
If
you know. Yeah, because she's took a leave for quite some time because, of course, you all know she's the one that had the accident, and they actually took a huge piece out of her head and sewed it to her side. And when they put it back in, they told us at the time that she would have a shift in her head. Well, that's taking place right now, and she's really having she just had to take a leave, and it was something that just happened. Didn't even know it when I, 2 weeks ago, didn't know that this was going to happen.
How much time has she got built up? I mean,
Quite a bit. The amount of sick leave that she has available would take her beyond her FMLA leave, which is a 12-week leave. So she could draw her pay as much as 12 weeks, and she has enough build up to cover her through that period of time.
Yes, but
But Mary Beth is able to move money around within her current budget just to make this part-time work through the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then
to the end of June.
to the end of June, we've got it situated in my budget where I can, or at least a part-time helper to get us through that. She's took the leave, and she's got it for, and they'll pay her, the insurance will pay her because she's paid that in the leave. But we also have to pay her for her sick days and her vacation. So that's where we're going to run into some problems, I'm afraid, when July rolls around, gotta have some.
I think the way the FMLA works is that you have to take your leave before you can even get FMLA, so.
She's
She's
applied for that.
Yeah, then
And
after she expunges her leave and whatever, then she can go on FMLA. So that's still hang on to me.
That's not current policy though.
That's not
No,
She can apply, it's just gonna be reduced.
She's got her leave now, yeah.
Her leave's full pay, and FLMA is,
But you don't get paid for FMLA, no.
No, but she can take it according to policy. She can take her leave in conjunction with her pay. If she has available sick leave, she can be on FMLA and draw her sick days. So she
Because
has to
she's
be
paid that
carrying
in.
those out.
Right,
It's an
she
insurance.
can do
The
that.
leave is
She doesn't have to exhaust her days before she goes on FMLA. She can go on FMLA and be paid during that time.
yeah.
July 1st, the new budget starts. The county has got to pay her for how many days after July 1st? You got any idea?
She has enough sick days to take her through to September. However, a 12-week FMLA is all that we have in our current policy that a person can take.
Yeah.
So at that time, she either needs to return to work or she can be dismissed at that point.
Okay.
But I gotta have her
Yeah.
right now, and we We've handled that to the end of the year by changing my budget around.
Mr. Chairman, I think that what she's done there is
Yeah.
her budget.
Yeah.
And she's made it work, so thank you so much.
I need a motion to approve these. Is that all the budget amendments they are?
No, there's many more.
In general
In
fund?
general fund, yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Jason,
Yes,
Jason,
go ahead, Don, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, we can't really hear what's being said out there, so will you care to kind of give us a recap of what we're voting on here? I can't hear, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Mary Beth, the Register of Deeds, is here to present an amendment to her budget to allow her to hire basically a part-time person, excuse me, through the end of this fiscal year because she has an employee who's taking sick leave. So this is no change to the fund balance, this is simply amending her current budget.
He didn't talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you guys got your, everything's turned on? Okay. Don, if you can't hear, just let me know so we can adjust, okay?
Okay, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Everybody ready to vote? Need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion, second, Kenny. Give me a roll call.
Earl Cox, John Flatford,
4,
Ken Hill,
4.
Janet Holloway, 4, Larry Lud,
4.
Becky Lindsay, 4, Jody Smith,
4.
motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Well, Highway Department.
On page 3 of 12, we have the highway department primarily just moving monies around within these appropriated budget.
Need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Janet, second by Jody. Roll call, please.
Earl Cox,
4.
John Flatford,
4,
Ken Hill,
4.
Janet Holloway, 4, Larry Lud,
4.
Becky Lindsay,
4,
Jody Smith,
4.
motion passes.
On top of page 4 of 12 is Fund 151 debt service. We're asking to move monies around out of our fund balance, since we weren't able to transfer the money out of the fund balance into capital projects. We have met with finance advisor, and we're looking at refinancing the energy bond issue that the school issued a few years back, and their recommendation was to also pay off early the current refi that we have, which is $360,000 that we have in our fund balance. And I would like to make a recommendation that we do that. That would leave us 2 pieces of debt. One is Paulette, that the wheel tax is currently supporting, and the second is the energy bond that the school board actually transfers funds into, contributes to the 151. So those debts already have a source of revenue to pay those. And this $360,000, we pay our financial advisor $2,500 a year to report our debt issuance. If we pay this debt off now, we would save that money in addition to the interest that we would accrue over the next 5 years where that is out there. And since we have such a healthy fund balance in debt service, I recommend that we pay that off. Also, I'm making an adjustment. When we did the tax levy last year, and you find out what you did do well last year when you do this year's budget, and I found that we changed the levy, but I didn't change the budget for the revenue to be collected between capital projects where we moved the pennies out of debt service and moved them into capital projects. So I'm correcting that and changing the budget for the property tax. I can hardly breathe with this on and talk to. So that is my recommendation on 151, to pay off that refi interest that was issued, or refi bond that was issued in 2013, and to correct the property tax budget.
Well, let me ask you something. Was this for air conditioning? What was this for?
The 2013, it was refinancing of a bunch of other debts that was out there.
What we did in 2013 was refinance everything and consolidated it into one debt. That was, at one point, it was, well, a piece of it was the building we bought across the street here, the Clerk's building, as well as some paving we had done. There was $1,000 First American, or $1 million First American, the jail renovation. There was just a multiple different debts out there that we rolled together, along with the new debt that we had just issued with the Paulette Sewer. And that was all rolled into one, and we were able to save significant monies by pulling that in. But now we're at a place where we kept the retirement dates the same. We're 5 years from retiring that debt. The $360,000 would get us out of that debt, and we have $855,000 available to pay that off.
Let me ask you, Sir Paulette, I thought that was a grant, it's just a matching.
It was a USDA loan that they were financing for like 40 years at $2,000 a month. And when we refinanced it, it was $488,000 when we financed it, we actually pulled it in.
I thought that was a CDBG grant.
No, not where they had to make some correction.
Yeah, it costs more than what we.
Oh, is that where it come back? I knew there's a CDBG grant for $80.
That was before my time when that was issued, but I was here when it was, that loan was made through USDA.
It costs more than what.
That's
Was already in the trunk, do you remember on that?
No, I don't remember, I wasn't here then. All right, need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second, motion by Janet, second by Kenny. Give me a roll call.
Earl Cox,
Well, I really don't understand what I'm voting on, but I'm going to go ahead and vote for it.
Don Flatford,
Four.
Kenny Hill,
4.
Janet Holloway, Larry Lane,
4.
Becky Lansing,
4.
Joe Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
On the bottom of that page 4 of 12 is the correction to the property tax budget in capital projects where we actually moved the pennies and now we expect an increase from the original budget.
Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Jody, second. Second by Kenny. Roll call.
Earl Cox,
4.
Don Flatford,
4.
Kenny Hill,
4.
Janet Holloway, Larry Lane,
4.
Becky Lansing,
4.
Joe Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
Next, 5 of 12 is Fund 172, Community Development. We need to move additional, we're asking to move an additional $30,000 from fund balance into the farmer's market budget so that we can complete that project.
And let me speak to that, if you would, Mr. Chairman. What this is, the original budget for the farmer's market was the proceeds of the land sale when we sold the land in Luttrell, so it was a little over $70,000. We put that into Fund 172. The original budget for the farmer's market, we set at $50,000. Okay, once we got the commercial kitchen and things like that, of course, we had to go over that, if you will, with the construction and everything, plus we had to hire an architect. So basically, what I'm asking to do here is $20,000 of the original budget that's going back, and then $10,000 from line 172, which before this money went into, we had a fund balance of around $70,000 in that. If you guys remember, had sat there for quite some time, for several years. So, and again, that money can be used for industrial development, such things as the farmer's market. So that's why you see that large transfer there, but it's technically only $10,000 out of the original 172 budget.
Is this final on this? Is this for the kitchen and complete?
This should take care of everything. Right now, they're framing it. We got to get the framing done, the plumbing done, then they move the commercial kitchen in. We pave underneath the large part of the shed, if you will. Basically fix the parking lot a little bit, and the farmer's market part is finished. Of course, we still have the stage to go, which is behind that, but that's a separate grant all by itself. But this amount should get us pretty close to being finished, yes, with the market.
Are they going to bid the kitchen, or are they just
They actually do not have to be at the kitchen because they are a 501c3 organization. They received a grant, so they don't fall under the government accounting
Oh,
rules.
they're gonna build the kitchen now, they're grant,
That grant money that belongs.
200,000.
Yes.
Right.
All right, okay. Need a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Earl, need a second.
Second.
Second by Janet. Roll call, please.
Earl Cox. John Blackford. Kenny Hill.
Four.
Janet Holloway. Larry Bud.
4.
Becky Muncy.
4.
Jody Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
On page 6 and 7 of 12 is Fund 141, General Purpose Schools, moving monies within the appropriated budget, also adding additional state funding, monies for salaries for teachers, revising the BEP based on the January estimate, and the TNBA additional administration fees due to their growth monies.
Motion.
What is that, and what is the bonus paid on there, increase 125,000?
The state of Tennessee in January decided because of the COVID experience that the teachers went through and are going through,
Yes.
that they sent additional funding to give teachers bonus pay.
Good. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any more questions? Roll call, please.
Earl Cox.
4.
John Blackford. 4. Kenny Hill.
4.
Janet Holloway. 4. Larry Bud.
4.
Becky Muncy.
4.
Jody Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
Page 8 through 11 is all federal programs, primarily moving the funds around. Page 8 is Subfund 101, Consolidated Administration. Top of page 9 is Subfund 011, Consolidated Administration. Just moving monies around. Of course, the federal programs, of course, made the same commitment to give a bonus to the teachers, but it wasn't funded by BEP, so they had to revise the federal budget to cover that cost. Page 10 of 12 is the ESSER 2.0, the school's second ESSER monies that they've been awarded, putting that ESSER grant into their budget. Page 11 of 12 is the original ESSER, moving monies around within that appropriate budget. And all of these are federally funded programs.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Jody, need a second.
Second.
Second by Janet, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Earl Cox.
I don't have in my booklet, was 11, page 11, whatever.
11, 10,
No,
10, 20.
Here you go. Got one. These are the.
Four.
John Blackford. 4. Kenny Hill.
4.
Janet Holloway. 4. Larry Bud.
4.
Becky Muncy.
4.
Jody Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
And finally, on page 12 of 12, on the budget amendments is Fund 145, known as Other Education, known to us as TNBA. Moving monies into their budget from the January estimate based on their growth funds, and also putting that into their budget for their spending.
Need a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by Kenny, second.
Second.
Second by Jody. Any questions or discussion? Give me a roll call.
Earl Cox.
4.
John Blackford. 4. Kenny Hill.
4.
Janet Holloway. 4. Larry Bud.
4.
Becky Muncy.
4.
Jody Smith.
4.
Motion passes.
Number 7, Mayor's report.
Well, Mr. Chairman, instead of doing a report this month, if it's okay with you, I'll just roll right into presenting the 101 budget. If that's okay, that'll be my report for this month. So,
That's under new business.
Jason?
yes, ma'am.
Jason, are you going to present the budget? Because I can't hear what everybody else is saying, so if you present it, I will be able to hear.
Yes, I'm going to do about 90% of it, but if someone else comes up to speak, I'll make sure that they're at the mic or walk up to the phone, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're
I apologize, yeah, thank you.
Not a problem, no worries. All right, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
All right, folks, so I bring to you tonight, with the help of course, our wonderful finance department and all of our elected officials here, the budget to consider for fiscal year 2022. And the way that I'm going to do this tonight, I'm going to go through all of the 101 budget, which of course includes all the fee offices and different folks here in the courthouse. As you can see, several of the elected officials are here. So elected officials, if it's okay with you, I will present the budget. If these fine folks have any questions, you are available. Does that sound okay? All the officials here, if you want to do it, be my guest, but that's how we'll do it. If that's okay, that's how we'll do it. All right, folks, on the front page here, and folks out in the audience, if you need me to back up, do whatever so you can see, you let me know. But basically, we start out, of course, per resolution, County Commission approved that each year our employees receive a cost of living, which we refer to as COLA. This year, it is 1.2%, so that will be an overall salary increase across the board of $106,830. Also, per county resolution, and I won't read all these percentages, but we look at employee insurance. And this year we are calculating a 10% increase, and that is based on medical loss ratio. And basically what that means is we look at our total population, which is insured. They have to look at claims and different things like that, and that's how we come up with the percentage increase, and it's going to be 10%. And I believe that's locked in, is that right, Ann?
It is.
A 10% increase, which leads us to a little over $36,000. All right, so before we go through the budget, we do want to point out that you see the different function codes here, basically these are the biggest increases in the budget. So I'm going to go through those and explain all those. I won't go into great detail until I get to that actual page in the budget, but I do want to point out contributions you're going to see this year are up really high, and here's why. If you guys remember, when I first took office, there was a grant that we received called the Randy Boyd Dog Park Grant, and that grant was for $25,000. It was decided that it was going to cost us a lot more to fund this park versus what we received in the grant, so we put that money aside. The rules of the grant ask that in 3 years, if you do not complete a project, that money be donated to an animal-friendly organization. My plan is to donate that, of course, to the Union County Humane Society this year. So that is money that was in the budget for a grant that now can go to the Humane Society. So please don't think that that is an increase that they are asking for. That's money there, and that just shows that that line had an increase in contributions. Also, hotel motel revenue is up. $15,000 for that, and also the Historical Society asked for an additional $1,000 on their request this year. Also, fire prevention is up. The City of Maynardville, we also have the city manager here tonight to answer any questions. They are asking for a contribution for their fire department at $10,000. The other contributions are usually at $22,000, so they're asking for $10,000. And also, Northeast Union increased their contribution this year, or their request, if you will, couple $1,000, so that's why you have an increase there. Also, the sheriff has quite a large increase, but let me explain that, because we are actually trying to do good to the budget, and by doing this to eliminate some of our liability when it comes to comp time. And when I get to that line in the budget, I'll explain that in more detail too, but just bear with me on that one. Also, the library board is asking for an increase. Right now, the maintenance of effort, and again, maintenance of effort is what you give the last year, you have to give this year. So the library is at $192,782, and they are asking for an increase to $208,578, and this is basically to fund salary increases for the librarians, and that's a little over $15,000. Also, the property assessor shows an increase this year, and that's because there is a reappraisal year coming up, and Randy's here tonight if you have any questions about that. And ag extension, some increases there due to the state employee salary increases. So that's something we can't help. That is through the state with the ag extension office. So as you can see that, let me skim through some of this and get to the actual totals. This is a breakdown basically of all the major functions and the increase, so you can see contributions, an increase of almost 50%, but again, folks, remember that's 25,000 for the dog park that was already there. So you're going to see our biggest increase being around 14 to 18% tonight. And that leaves us with a deficit of $331,000 in our fund, in our budget this year. We need that to be balanced. There are some things we can do to balance the budget. Of course, that is for discussion tonight or whenever we decide to do that. But keep in mind, folks, tonight you are not voting on the budget. Okay, once again, you are not voting tonight. What we're doing tonight is simply presenting. You have the opportunity to talk to the officials, talk to me, talk to Ann, and of course you've got another month until we come back and do this again. But we will actually look at everything tonight except for the Board of Education, and then when you come back in May, you will vote on everything except the Board of Education. Oh, I'm sorry, including the board then. Yes, I'm sorry, that is correct. So, but tonight you're not voting on anything. Okay, and the Board of Education is a balanced budget, is that right, Dr. Carter? It has been approved by the school board, ready to go, so it's just as simple as you guys accepting that budget. So, that's where we are, and we'll start with the rest of them. So, guys, what I'm going to do is literally go through all the functions, we'll point out the increases. If you have any questions, please stop me, and we'll go from there. But first off, you have, and I believe 51-100 is County Commission, is that right? This is Board of Equalization.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so the first one right here, Board of Equalization, this is actually Office of the County Commission. So you can see a minimal increase there, that's simply the salary increase. The next function, Board of Equalization, that is a zero change in that budget. Next we have the Beer Board, 51-220, zero increase in that budget. Next you have 51-300, that is my office. The only increase that I'm asking for is $1,140. That is the increase for my staff at 1.2%. Also, next you have 51-400, County Attorney, no increase there. Function 51-500, that is the Election Commission. As you can see, she doesn't need $44,000 this year. She's in the good 44 because there is no election this year. But keep in mind, and Ms. Viles also wanted me to point out here, and I will, because she is very diligent with her budget, but, oh, hold on, let me get back over here. Hold on, bear with me. Man, I was doing so good, just flowing right along and everything. Hold on. Oh, look at there, I know what it is, okay. All right, so Ms. Viles asked me to point out there's a $5,000 increase in her postal charges, and here's why. You guys know that redistricting is coming up, so if the committee decides to redistrict, we have to mail out, we as in her office has to mail out a voter registration card, so that is where that increase comes. But again, she's down 44,000, so we're good there. Function 51-600, Register of Deeds, no increases there, just the increase of the employees to the 1.2. 51-710 is Development, that's actually our Planning Commission, no increase there. Next we have County Buildings, that is the function that I oversee, 51-800. The only increase, well, we do have slight increases there, but a big increase would be our building insurance went up, and we have to pay our insurance, so it's what it is, folks. So $11,000 on that for a total of $12,000 increase, and that's due to insurance. Next, under other general administration, that is a function under my office as well. No changes in that budget. Next, we have accounting and budgeting, 52-100. That is the finance department. As you can see, there is some increases there. It looks like one of the big ones, I guess, would be for, well, there's not really any big ones. It's going to be your medical insurance that went up and some equipment and things like that. Is that right, Ann? Looks like, oh, data processing, that's what I was looking for, thank you. Data processing is local government, that's their software that they use. So, again, you gotta pay it, folks. So it's a $7,000 increase on that line. Next is the assessor of property, Mr. Randy Turner. As you can see, he has an increase here, and one of the big increases is postage, and I'm sure that's to do with reappraisal too, Randy. Do you guys have any questions for Randy or anything about that increase before we roll on? Looks like they don't, Randy. Moving right.
He don't run.
Okay. Did you say yes, Larry?
Yeah, I said, he don't run the post office, he can't do nothing about the post office.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right, good to go?
I'm good.
All right. Next is function 52400, the Trustees Office. Ms. Buckner is here too if you have any questions. It looks like her increase is also local government fees and the salaries of her employees. Any questions for Ms. Buckner? Looks like not. Moving right along is the County Clerk's Office. Ms. Pam Ayler, looks like the only increase, well, she has a couple of increases here, but salary and different things, and you can see some of her insurance line actually decreased, so that put her at an increase of $1,600. And the Trustees Commission is the next function, and that basically the Trustees Commission is what it is. So moving right along. Next is Circuit Court Clerk. That's Ms. Barbara Williams. She's in the audience if you have any questions. It looks like local government for her as well as her salary for employees raises. Any questions for Barbara? None? All right.
What number is that? 54?
Barbara is 53100. Yeah, page 4. And we're at the bottom of page 4. Function 53300, General Sessions Court. They went down $500, so good there. Next we have Chancery Court, that's the Clerk and Master. It looks like just some minimal increases here along with the salaries of employees. And the next line is 53930, Victim Assistance, no change in that line. Let's see. All right, here's where, I believe this is the sheriff, is that right? Yep, here's the sheriff's department. All right, folks. Come on up, Sheriff.
Darth Vader music coming up.
I'm going to lead the charge here and
Go
explain.
ahead, you got the helm.
Okay, and explain why we're doing what we're doing, and we have the High Sheriff here to answer any questions that I can't answer. But if you notice here on the sheriff's budget, we have a brand new line called overtime pay, okay? Now, let me sit back and let me start at the beginning, okay? And let me stress this. Let me stress this. To any county officer or anybody when it comes to comp time, we are not taking away anyone's comp time, okay? Make sure, Shante, you got that on
I got
film,
that
right?
on film.
We are not taking away comp time. Let me explain what we're doing, okay? In the case that, for instance, in the sheriff's department, if Sheriff Breeding here has a mass exodus of his department, he has half of his deputies decide, you know what, we're done, we're leaving. Any comp time that we have, folks, we have to pay them out, okay? We cannot get by that. We have to pay it out. In that case, with the budget the way it is now, if Sheriff Breeding, if that happens and he has to pay them out, he cannot hire additional staff until that money is recouped, okay? Until it's paid out and it's done. I think everybody understands that. So what, in my opinion, and I'll throw it out there, this is something I came to the sheriff with, which I think it will help our budget in terms of liability, folks. Remember, liability, okay? What it's going to cost the county one of these days. From this point on, let me say this, from July 1, my suggestion would be to pay our police officers overtime instead of banking comp time. That way, they are getting additional pay. They are truly getting paid for what they're doing, instead of us banking all this comp time and then can get us to almost, it's over 400 hours, is that right, Sheriff? Before we have to pay
It's
them out.
480, we have to start actually by FLSA paying on it.
So you've got officers with sometimes 400 hours in comp time. When we get a cadet out of the academy ready to go, they come in with 400 hours of comp time, okay? Again, we're not getting rid of their comp time, okay? We're saying whatever they have, when we hit June 30, anything they have from June 30, they take it. It's theirs, they get to take it. But July 1 forward, we pay officers overtime and comp time stops. And so that way we have a line now that if we have several to leave who still have comp time that we owe them, we pull that out of the overtime line. So it's basically a safety net, if you will, in the budget here to take care of that, and then for future planning to make sure that our officers are covered, and if that happens, the sheriff is covered. So that's why you see that huge increase there. And that's why, folks, in a nutshell. And if you have any additional questions, by all means, I'll try to help. I'll try to answer them, and the sheriff is right here. And I'll keep going with his budget, and then we'll talk at the end if that's okay. He has a couple of other increases here, but again, the main one is the overtime. And then while he's up here, I'm going to go ahead and include the special patrols and the jail, if you're okay with that, Sheriff. Special patrols is our SROs, that's our school resource officers. You can see minimal increase there, that would be salary. And next we go to the jail. There is a significant increase in the jail, and the majority of that is due to food costs, because the jail has to have a registered, certified, whatever you want to call it, dietitian to plan their meals. So once they plan that meal, we have to look at serving sizes. We have to look at everything just as strict as it would be in the school system. It really is. In order to feed the inmates what they're supposed to have. Well, you change that, everything's going up, folks, food costs are going up, it's just that. We have inmates here, we have to feed them, that's what the cost is.
Plus I lost my garden this year.
Oh, yes, and the sheriff's garden has been sold out from under him, folks, so the inmate garden is.
We are seeking new property.
So he's currently looking for property.
The overtime pay is also.
Oh, and I'm sorry, thank you, Ann. And also the overtime pay goes for the jail as well, folks, because the same issue there, okay? So this, again, encompasses the sheriff's department, SROs, and the jail. So that's why you have a significant increase, but that is why we're doing that. Again, it is to try to take some of the liability off of our budget, okay? So here's the sheriff, if you have any questions.
And I'll go ahead and speak on some of the comp time, you know, I have to run a 24/7 department, everybody knows that, the responsibilities we have to feel. And nobody despises comp time and stuff as much as I do, but that's the nature of the beast. One thing we run into, like the mayor said, you know, if we have sent somebody to the academy under FLSA law, anything over 40, they have to be compensated for. Some of those weeks, they're working 75-hour weeks. As soon as they come out, you're looking at already in the deficit on a brand new patrolman, 400 hours in the hub. That's not including any court time. A lot of those days are on their days off, and that's just the nature of the beast. Don't like it, you gotta deal with it. When we do have somebody leave, like the mayor said, it's a vicious cycle. You have to pay somebody out, you have to fill that position, so you're creating more time for someone else to plug those holes. So the mayor came to me and talked to me about it. My big thing is, what I would like to see come out of it, if nothing else, at the end of the day, if we had enough pool to where an employee does leave, then we have enough to pay that employee out and immediately fill that position, so we're not borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. So, I'll entertain any questions.
Who keeps the record of comp time?
We do, there's an overtime explanation sheet. If it's a call that they run, they have to put the call, the cab number, it has to be signed off on by a supervisor, same way in court time. So it's not just like people said they work something. There's actually checks and balances. Those documentations, the sheriff's office, anybody ever like to view.
And there's a copy sent to my office, and the comp time is reported to the finance office.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you something else. You know, there are gonna be some big things happening in Union County if it's approved, like the fire and everything. You gonna have extra costs for that, patrolling or?
Like the fair?
Yeah, they may pay a fire or a big convention or.
Well, a lot of times it just depends. I mean, I know how I've handled it in the past. If it's a non-profit thing, we're gonna try to supply people there. If it's something for profit, I expect whoever's putting that profit on to pay the expense of that officer. So.
That's what I think.
Yeah, no, we don't just,
Like the rodeo and stuff like that.
yeah, things that's for profit that they're asking for officers.
Do they usually pay?
Yes.
Do they?
Yes.
Good. Anybody have any?
Okay, one thing, when you send these debuts, whatever, to the academy, are they any speculation for that deputy? I mean, you send him for this training and whatever, so when he gets out of there, are there anything says that he has to work for the county for?
Yes, we
so long?
recently, the last three we sent, we started doing a 3-year contract. Basically what that contract says is it's kind of like, for lack of better words, a car payment. The cost of the academy, the cost of the pay while they're in the academy is all calculated. And basically you divide that over 3 years and the payment comes off every month. So it's prorated. If they work 2 years and leave, there's a certain amount that they would be
Responsible.
for we're paying you back in cash.
So you have started this, had you done that before?
Well, the last 3 we did, and we hadn't done that before, but it was getting to be an issue, so we started getting that, yeah.
And they're officially under contract, Commissioner, so it is signed by myself, the mayor, the county attorney, so they are under contract, that if they leave and we pay for their school, they gotta pay us back if it's not after 3 years. So, yeah.
But I remember some time ago, a few years ago, I thought that's the way that it was, and it brought to my attention that, I mean, if you send somebody to the academy, then they get out and go work for Knox County.
And you get that one, I mean, you know, we're not the highest paid agency by far, and, I mean, even down in the jail, we have extra time down in jail for you people on it. It's not environment, it takes a special person to work down there. You get them trained, and obviously, they're going to go somewhere where they can have better benefits, better money, so it's really tough. It's really tough.
All right. Any more questions for the sheriff?
What's the full-time deputy make now? You know?
Yeah, it's about 32. Still okay.
Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure I understand this. I think I do, and I understand where you're going with it. That the sheriff has an officer that has 400 hours comp time, and for whatever reason that officer leaves, then basically his department has to work a man short for 10 weeks
Yes.
before he can put another patrolman on. Is that correct?
That's correct, pay out that salary, yes, ma'am.
And what we're doing in that meantime is having somebody else to put it in there when they're not on the regular shift
I'm
and they're
just going to
doing.
cut a partnership on him for any more problem.
I agree.
And,
Yeah,
sick leave, I know we changed that, but it went towards the retirement.
right.
So,
Yes.
say like the sheriff, if he's a deputy, if he got sick, he just takes sick leave for that time that year, and the rest of it goes to his retirement? Or can they take, I didn't think you could take, like they had a month or 2 or 3 sick leave, can they take that whole sick leave? They can't get it.
They have to be sick. So they-
I mean,
Yeah.
they don't get paid for it though.
No, if they leave, they do not get sick time pay.
I'll have to look at that leave again because there was some changes made.
We made changes, then I believe any sick time they build up, like over the years, it goes towards their
Yes,
retirement,
yes.
not that they actually take
That's-
sick leave.
That's correct.
Because they're just, what, 12 sick days a year and it goes away.
Yeah, and by code, we have.
They don't go away, but after it's built up, they don't take it, it goes towards their retirement.
Yes.
Right.
They actually don't get paid by the county.
Right,
You can use that to be a bridge to that gap.
right.
But like if an employee leaves, they do not get
Hey,
sick time pay.
They just get towards their retirement.
If they retire. Yes,
If they retire.
that time can be transferred to TCRS, yes.
Okay. Any more questions?
And most other stuff in my budget is just, a lot of it's maintenance related on vehicles. I mean, price of that goes up. We've, you know, over the last few years generated a few extra officers, so that requires other vehicle associated costs. I think there's some uniform increases in there, but this is the big one. Most of them's kind of minimal for the overall budget percentage wise.
and might I interject too, this is transparent. You can see more what it's costing in overtime this way than a liability on your liability sheet in our annual audit. Because it's a real cost, and looking at it as a liability is something that you don't see in your budget that you're spending. And while you're paying out comp time, you're creating comp time. So it's a big
It's like I said, it's just-
It never, until we put a stop to it, it never stops, folks, so that's what we're trying to do.
And of course,
Thank you.
that's calculated at time and a half too. so
Yes.
It mounts up.
Yep.
We've got about 38, we're getting 4 more though from state money from
About 42 on there.
roughly,
You got 42 calls,
roughly is.
do you need 42 calls?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, you want to count how many road officers we have, how many detectives we have? how many
How many
SROs?
do you have?
Right now, we've got, 15 patrol, 5 detectives, 10 SRO. We have to have more transport cars for the jail, not including myself and the chief. And plus, we need about 3 reserve cars, because we're constantly having some go down Color Road.
Does a school resource officer, does he need a car?
Do you want a marked unit sitting out in front of the patrol car protecting children as a deterrent?
Well, I think they should be with our uniform,
Well,
but a car, I mean, I don't see that.
well, me personally, I want a marked unit in front of the school where someone knows for sure there's an officer in that school. Plus, we also utilize SRO in the summertime as patrol. Well, they need that for patrol in the summertime.
But, you know, I live right on Highway 33. Okay, when one of your cars comes by my house, most of the time, there's 5, not just one. There'll be 5 cars that following each other.
We don't have
Why?
5 on shift.
Why?
We don't have 5 on shift.
Well. But
Unless
you got
there's
42
something,
cars.
unless there's something special going on,
Well,
search warrant, something like that. Both times we have 3 on shift.
I don't know where you're going because I'm not following it. I see it every day.
Well, we have a lot going on every day. But me personally, I want a marked unit in front of the school.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, I believe in having security at the schools, but I don't believe every one of them needs a car.
So they transport juveniles all the time.
You got deputies for that.
Yeah, they're usually running calls. They run probably about 20-something calls a shift. They're backed up on that. We'll agree to disagree on that.
All righty.
I disagree, I just want you to know.
Well, I mean, respectfully, I disagree with you.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you all.
Next, you have function 54-240, that is juvenile services. We have a minimal increase of $250. Next, you have the,
I'd like to point out something on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's not here.
okay,
He moved money within his budget to increase the wages of one of his employees that is really hard to fill and was to maintain this employee. But it's almost negligible in his budget.
okay. And what she's pointing out here, folks, if you look at the top here, that would be 112 to 124. You can see the salary increases there. So that's what she's talking about. But as you can see, the budget was cut in other places to justify that. So that's what she's saying in a nutshell.
$250 is what?
Yes, ma'am. That's the overall increase.
Yeah, okay.
All right, next we have fire prevention and control. Basically, these are the charitable contributions that we get to the fire department.
I want to talk to that too.
All right. We, let me explain the increases here. We've got Maynardville Volunteer Fire Department. If you guys will look across the board, you have not been contributing to Maynardville, so they have come asking for $10,000. City manager is here for that, and as I pointed out, Northeast Union asked for $3,000 more. So go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Well, really, I don't think volunteer fire departments get enough. Paulette don't get nothing. I know that you voted in 2013 when they started charging a fee of $75 per household, $150 for business. And they legally can do that because he's been investigated. He's come to my house and talked to me about this. But I think Union County ought to furnish him equipment and pay his light bill and things like that, and not give it to him directly, right through Ann's office, the same amount as Bristol Fire Department. Turnout equipment is, I talked to a boy at the local fire department, it's like $1,200-$1,300 a set, I think, isn't it? And more than that, I guess, a lot more. And we've got taxpayers in the 4th and 6th district, in the 6th and 4th district too, that pays taxes. So Union County, our people down there deserve the tax dollars put in the fire department as well as others. They cut him off because he started charging. Well, he's about bankrupt. The board was about bankrupt. That's the reason he started charging. And I think they ought to give him the same, only through Ann, let him bring the bills for the equipment, his light bill and everything, let Ann write the check. You don't have to let him write the checks. And I think that we need to put some money in there for him, just like the rest of it.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, what's changed in a month? Well, before you wanted to know about.
Well, he wouldn't call me. He wouldn't call me, and he
You
wouldn't.
wanted to know where the equipment went that the county had bought before they started charging. You wanted to know why they were charging. You wanted to know why they were sending letters. Now you wanted to have money. What changed?
I found out where the money went. He's going to give you the report of where the money went. Just like the rest of these, we've got taxpayers down there too. We pay money.
I'm not saying you don't, and I understand that.
You don't think you ought to give him
Don't
equipment?
put words in my mouth. I asked a question, what changed? I tried to sit right over there in that meeting and explain how I looked at it, and you had questions about where all this stuff went. And now you have those answers, and now you want to give the pay department, what you're requesting, is to give the pay department the same money all the volunteer departments get.
For equipment,
Okay.
through Ann. not through him.
I just wanna make
They
sure
give him,
I just wanna make sure I understood.
and I don't care if you
You've
get,
answered it, thank you.
But Ann don't do that for the other departments. I mean, why should we expect her to do it for them?
well, call you,
Technically, we
you
can
can
do
see
that.
what they're getting.
We can't do it.
No, we can give them a contribution and just call it a day.
You can't buy them equipment.
No, we can give them the money to do it, but our finance department doesn't need to be paying the bill for a volunteer fire
Tell them how to
department.
spend it.
So, I mean, we can give them a contribution, but we can't run that through the finance department.
Well, I'm sorry, Jason, what was the request?
Chairman Lay is asking for, basically money to go to the Paulette Fire Department. I think you threw out an amount, Mr. Lay, like 22,000, is that what
For
you're looking at?
equipment.
So.
But if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Money for equipment, but here's the thing, I mean, it's not up to, we give everybody the $22,000, so if we decide to give Paulette $22,000, we give it to them, they determine what they spend it on, just like we do with everybody else. We can't say we're gonna give you money and say, but you can only spend it on this. So, and we can't run it through finance at all.
Okay, so my question was, I know he's talking about giving them like their equipment, but if you were gonna do that, why couldn't you, and I know you said it's not feasible, but why couldn't you just give them money and say that this
Yeah,
is paid for
she-
people's fees,
she-
instead of doing that for giving them money for equipment?
That's fine.
So like he charges them, he charges each household a certain $75 a year. So to me, I would much rather do that versus giving them equipment money and pay the people's fees that can't afford to pay it.
They can't-
So, I
you
mean,
can't
I
do that
understand where you're
either,
coming
right?
from, we're taxpayers down here too. And so I would like, me personally, I would see that it goes towards paying people's fees versus buying them more additional equipment.
I tried that.
And I understand
tried
what
to do
you're
that.
saying, Don, but I don't think
You
that
can't.
finance department can legally do, I don't think we can legally
Can't
do
legally
anything
do that.
except give them a donation, but we cannot put any strings to it, what they do with it.
Exactly, and I know that, we can't tell them how they spend their money.
Yeah.
Well,
You could ask, I don't know how far that would go.
I don't know, I was here.
They, you know, if you're gonna take money, you're gonna say, okay, they agree.
No problem, I've been wanting to have.
No, they do.
So again, folks, if this is something that you all are entertaining, of course, it's not on our budget, so this will be something we would
Well,
have
if you
to
can't
add.
do it, you can't do it.
But keep in mind now, we can still give them money, and they can use it to buy equipment, but my thing is, we can't run it through finance. So if we want to give them a contribution like the others, no problem. But it's up to them how they spend it. I mean, I guess if you
Well,
ask,
all the rest of them like that too, though.
well, and there again, we trust them to spend it on what
Yeah, I
they need
agree.
it for. But I mean, I guess you could ask,
I'm
you
sure
know,
we
Captain
will.
Rice to provide us the documentation, if you would like to do that. That's, of course, we can ask for that. But again, it's just impossible to run it through finance.
But wait a minute, we can't ask for that.
We can if
because-
we give them money.
Well, can we?
Yes, sir.
If you give it to a
If we
business?
give
I know
them-
we can audit the books of a 501(c) if we donate to them.
But we can't. We donate to him. He's still a volunteer
He
fire
doesn't have-
department.
okay.
Yes, sir, we can.
I apologize.
Not a problem, sir.
Because that is ran like a business, I didn't know if we could audit their books.
We can, if we give them money, yes, sir.
501(c), they can pay their board or anything like that. too.
But they're not a 501c3, they're an LLC.
You told me it's a 501(c).
Yes, ma'am.
If you work on the board, on the state board.
Would it be feasible for the 5 commissioners that represent the 4th and 6th district where Pilot Volunteer Fire Department is, to talk about this and then bring it back to see if they can get into agreement about whether or not to even give a donation to that department? I would think they know more about that department than say myself over here.
But I know that they're a mutual aid agreement in the county, and they have,
Hold on just a second, Dave.
they go everywhere else and don't charge. I know they would, yeah, I know that. But it's still expense.
But they're still sending bills out in other districts.
Yeah, they are, I send the bill out, because I get one every year and I pay it.
Yeah.
I know
I think
that.
Jason's mother got one.
Well, sometimes you make mistakes and send the wrong people, I know that. Well, you do.
I know.
But,
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you heard Becky here, but her question was, can the folks in the Becky, say it again, 6th and 4th, I guess that's Paulette, right? 6th and 4th,
Right.
maybe get
Those 5
together.
commissioners in that area, I'm not opposed to giving any fire department help, I'm not opposed to that. But I think since that fire department services that area, could those 5 commissioners talk about it, and then if they decide that they want to put in the budget to give them a donation, they can bring it to budget?
That's possible. All we can just basically, of course, we have to advertise it, it has to be a public
Yeah.
meeting, but if those commissioners would like to do that, I'll be happy to host the meeting, and you can do that. Sure.
That's fine.
That's, if you guys will just, 6th and 4th, if you guys will get together, figure it out, let me know, we'll post the meeting, get it all worked out. Sure.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right,
You know,
sounds
there's
good.
not anything stopping these
Thank
other
you.
fire departments from
Well,
doing the same thing.
Oh, and let me point out too, Paulette did not request,
Yeah.
okay, so
I
they,
did huge.
Paulette did not request this year, so they have not requested for funds. So if you decide to give it, they're gonna have to go through all the stuff, okay, just saying. So just throwing that out there. All right, any more questions about, fire departments, contributions? If not, all right, moving right along. Next is rescue squad, same thing, 22,000 each year. Next is the local health services, so you can see there's no increase there. The last one is county coroner on that page, no increases there. Excuse me, the next is 55,110, that's the health department. You can see no increases there. Also, next is 55,190, that's also health department related. And you can see there's a change of 13,900 there, that was pointed out on the front page.
That's a DAG contract, and the
Okay.
contract, the grant for the health department that we get from the state has been reduced by 13,900.
Okay. All right, excuse me, the next two on that page, no increases, that's appropriations to state and sanitation management, no increases there. The last one is convenience centers, and you can see that's a minimal increase of $890. Next is the senior citizen center, and the lovely Miss Melanie Dox is here if you have any questions for her, but it looks like she has minimal increases with her salary, and it looks like electricity, you have to pay a little bit more for lights right now, so.
She pays the light, her bill is the light bill for the entire complex, that's the library, finance office, and her. And it hasn't gone up in several years.
You paying for all three, huh?
1 meter.
Pay for all three, you're so generous. Well, that's all right. Very good. So that went up $1,000. Any questions for Melanie? Nope. All right, next, we have the library budget, and we will go through that too. And Sydney, Jesse is here. Sydney, you're here representing the library board, if you guys have any questions on that. I will point out, of course, as we talked on the front page, the increase would be for the salaries of librarians. And you can see the second and third line here, that will be an increase of $5,614 and $6,920 for the two directors, that Luttrell, the one at Luttrell, the one at Maynville, that's Kim, and that's Ms. Shante. Looks like there's a couple of more changes within the budget, looks like minimal stuff, but the increase in this budget will be $15,796. So, any questions for Sydney?
Is that the increase in salary for just the two of them?
That is, looking at the budget, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but that looks like the major increases for the two directors, and it looks like the others are the cost of living. Is that correct, Sydney?
The rest of the budget should be around.
Okay, can you tell me how much the increase is for the two librarians? I'm sorry, I didn't even see that on here.
If you'll go down to, it's page 16 of 29. And
16, I found
yeah.
that on the page today.
Okay, and I'll point that out. If you look at the bottom of page 16, the function code is 56500. It has librarians L. When you see L, M, and S, this is cost centered on the budget. L is Luttrell, M is Maynardville, S is Chapel. So as you can see, the first line here is the Luttrell librarian, an increase of $5,614, and the Maynardville librarian at an increase of $6,920. And you can see the $135 that looks like cost of living, I'm assuming, on the other personnel. Yes, that is. So again, a couple of minimal things throughout the budget, but that is the main expense. So,
Can I
well,
talk about?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, ask him to make sure.
Go ahead.
You'll notice a increase here, and the reason for that is we are currently sitting at level 2 library in the state, okay? And with the census information that we have to this point, it's not final, but we are looking to be moved to a level 3. I think our census, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to be between 4 and 5%.
Well, right now, we're looking at 4.5, that's the
Okay,
projection.
4.5%. That's going to push us beyond the 20,000 population in the county. And that's how the libraries are leveled off. And I will say this, at a level 2, we're behind. And again, I'm not trying to say keep up with the Joneses. I'm just asking to close the gap. And if we're going when we get to level 3, our librarians are going to be even further behind on the pay scale when it comes to this. Now, let me say this as well. When Jason asked me if I'd be interested in coming on the library board, I said sure. I was elected to do a job and I'll do it to the best of my ability. I will say this, I did not realize what all that the library consisted of. It's more than books. It's far more than books. Technology, they're fielding things that I had no idea as far as phone calls and helping people. And I have a couple things here that I just wanted to share. This is an email that came from Julie Stevens, and she is with Surpass Software, which is a software system that the library uses. She said, we are writing an ebook for K through 12 audiences on trends in schools and public libraries for 2021, and we would like to feature you as an expert. This is referring to Ms. Shawnee, our director here in Maynardville. Would you be willing to talk with a member of our team for 30 minutes this week to share your thoughts on this topic? And we also found out at our last board meeting that Shantae and one of the part-time employees, Tamika, they have been asked to teach a class for the Clinch River Regional Library. And I want to read the Bible that they have listed. Maynardville Public Library has been a leader in providing virtual programming to their community. Shantae and Tamika are well equipped to teach our other library staff practical and cost-effective ways to learn and improve their virtual programming and photo editing skills. Folks, that's more than books. It goes way beyond the books. And I also have a letter here, and I'm not going to list the individual that wrote this letter, but it's from a teenager that utilizes our resources at the library. I like the library because it's my happy place. It's my happy place because it has some of my favorite books and 3 best librarians in the world. They help me whenever I need help, and they do have cool clubs like D&D and Lego Club. The library is also a place where I can be alone, but if I don't want to be alone, I can hang out with other people there. Honestly, I think for me, the library is the best place for me to be whenever I'm bored. And this came from a teenager that utilizes our library. And I'll close with this. Imagination Library, Holly Clark sends out books. That comes through our library system here. And I'll say this, our youngest, he just turned 5 this month, so he has graduated that program. And I know every time we would stop at the mailbox, he didn't care about anything, but he'd ask one question: did Dolly Parton send me something? He loves to read. And I think it's very important that we still embrace that. Again, the library is more than books. I have asked that we be put on the agenda quarterly for our librarians to give a quarterly report to the county commission. You say, why do that? I'm as transparent can be. And I want you all to know what we're doing as far as a board. We have nothing to hide. And again, I'm not asking to bring these ladies up to par at a level 2. I'm not asking to bring them up to a par at a level 3. I'm just asking that you close the gap. Anybody got any more questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Sidney. Folks, the 56,700, we're at the bottom of page 17. This is Parks and Fair Boards, and that is a zero balance there. Just to remind everyone, this function here is completely funded by our payment from Beach Island, $30,000 each year that goes straight to that budget to fund the parks. Function 57-100, ag extension, you can see an increase there, and as we talked about earlier, that's because of the increase in the state employees. And the UT extension folks fall under that because they are University of Tennessee employees. It's like contributions for the Forest Service, zero increase there. The next is soil conservation, 57,500, just the increase for salaries at 1.2%. Veteran services, we have an increase there of $99, and that's the cost of living as well. The next one here, okay, here's where we get into our contributions. All right, as you can see, we can go down through the increase and decrease lines here. We go down to the dog park grant, and again, that's money that was in the budget, ready to go. We just have to cut that check to the Humane Society. Looks like, let's see, an increase. The Historical Society asked for $1,000 more. Leadership Union County, they did not ask for money last year because of COVID. This year they are having a class, so they asked for their money again. Union County Little League, however, sent a letter declining the contribution this year. They didn't play last year, and we gave them their money. So this year they're not taking the money because they didn't need it. So I appreciate them for that. So they are not taking their contribution this year. Soccer club looks like they are not taking theirs. Is that correct?
They did not submit a request, and I phoned them again this week saying I've not received your request.
Okay.
Actually, it was last week, and they told me they would have it to me by Friday afternoon, and it's not.
Okay, so we did not get a request yet for soccer, and I'm glad that popped up there because normally they do. So okay, so now we know what's going on with that. All right, hotel motel tax, an increase there of $15,638, and here's why, folks, because our hotel motel tax is going up. That's a good thing. It's going up, and if you guys remember last year, Commission voted to give the Chamber of Commerce 80% of that year's allocation. Remember, it's not 80% of the total; it's of that allocation. So that'll be going up this year. And I believe this allocation is going to be in the neighborhood of $53,000 this year. And so again, that shows our hotel motel tax is going up, folks. And keep in mind, the state is doing a little bit better on getting us our money because especially the Airbnbs that were being rented all over North Lake, we were not getting the taxes on that. Now that is regulated through the state and we're getting it. And so that's really going to help our hotel motel tax. All right, workman's comp insurance. It is what it is, folks. It went up a little bit. It's like $297. Litter and trash collection, that is the litter grant. The only salary there is the deputy, Brett, who is our litter officer, so you can see the increase there. All right, so at the end of 101, as you all know, we have a shortfall of $331,000, but again, there are some things we can do to fix that. But again, keep in mind, we're not voting tonight, we're voting next month. But from this time forward, of course, look at all the requests, large or small, see what you guys want to do with that. Talk to officials from this time to there, see what we need to do, and come back in May with either approve this budget or some recommendations on what to do with the next one. So that is all of 101, and actually Fund 118, which is ambulance service, that falls under my office, so I'm going to present that tonight as well. So before I move on, if there are any questions on 101? If not, 101 is finished. No? All right. Very good. Next. Yep, and that's number 2 on new business. Next is 118, that's the ambulance service. Now keep in mind too here, folks, this is, Andrew's budget is fine. There's no increases on this, but let me point out something too. Keep in mind that our ambulance service is obviously county funded and we rely on revenue to keep this funded. And during COVID, a lot of our, when I say our, I'm talking about the ambulance service, a lot of our day calls were to go to the nursing home and take folks to dialysis, different things like that. When COVID hit, folks, they weren't allowed in the nursing home. So all those trips that they would take during the day that actually generated a lot of revenue for us fell to the wayside. So I do want to applaud Andrew and his crew for holding it together this year. The money wasn't where it needed to be, but they did. And my goodness, Andrew, along with every other EMT and fire department in the state, is having trouble finding folks. So it is hard to find people to do these jobs, and they manage and they do a good job. So at the end of the day here, you can see Andrew is fine in his budget. He's actually expecting a little bit more revenue than his expenditures, so he's good on that. So any questions on 118? All right, next is 122, that's the drug fund. And as you can see, it looks like a shortfall in that, but folks, that's just simply when the money comes in for revenue, it goes into that fund balance for the sheriff and his department to spend. So that's why that is down. So any questions about the growth fund? All right, next is Highway Fund 131, and I told Mr. Cox I would do his budget too. If you have any questions, he is in the audience. So I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'm not going to line out his budget, but he presents to you a perfectly balanced budget. So, any questions for Mr. Cox? Nope, moving right along. Fund 151, and Commissioner Earl Cox, I want to go back to this on the comment about the refunding of the loan. Let me explain that when we look at 151 debt service. In debt service, if the county has a debt, we have to show in our budget that we have the money set aside to pay that debt. So that's where debt service comes in. As Ms. Dyer was saying, if we decide to pay off this debt, which is, what was it again, $300 and something $100,000 to pay this off. This actually means that Union County folks have no debt to pay for in debt service, because the only other two debts we have is Pollard Elementary and the energy savings thing, whatever, school system, which wheel tax pays for Paulette, school system pays for their loan. So when it comes to 101, we don't have any debt, folks, zero. So if we pay that loan off, what we're talking about and what you voted for, when we pay that loan off, that clears us out. We have zero debt. Okay, so to me, folks, we've got $800,000 sitting there to pay off a $300,000 loan that wipes us clean. Why not? We need to. So we're going to pay this off. It was approved. Thank you for that. We'll write the check and get that done. But when you look at your increases here or decreases on the 151, it's wiped out, folks. It'll pay it off. So any questions on that?
I got a question, Ann. Ann, did they refinance some of the bond that commercial bank had? Did they tie that in to Paulette's school? It's a
Not to
million,
Paulette School, I don't think so.
million some dollars, I believe, and they refinanced, I think, commercial, which it was a loan, million some dollars. It's for renovation at Big Ridge, Lutton, and Sharp Chapel. Did they tie that in?
Big Ridge, Luttrell, and Sharps Chapel is in the bond issue for Paulette.
It wasn't started with, was it?
I don't know, that was before my.
No,
but
I think that probably the prior, they had to refinance it through that, because I got some paperwork, and really the wheel tax was to pay Paulette's school, it wasn't to pay these others off.
Well, in the bond issue, which I have a copy of that resolution, there was an additional, there were two different notes, the bond issue and a loan.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember what the loan was for, but it was for some of the schools that.
It's for work at Big Ridge, Sharp Chapel, and I believe it done something else.
We did it all together, because, you know, they said the loan would take care of public schools.
No. They done Paulette themselves, because we went to National, got 1.5% interest. But I think,
The wheel tax resolution included, and that, we included the debt for Paulette, Luttrell, Sharps Chapel, and Big Ridge. Those three schools. Then there was a second note for the other two schools. But inside of the Paulette bond issue, there was some debt for Big Ridge, Luttrell, and Sharps Chapel schools to.
well, I got something, I got from Nashville that said that it was refinanced, it was added on to in 2011 or 12, 13 or something.
This was a wheel tax resolution was passed in 2009, and it speaks to
Yeah.
that debt.
Yeah. Was it for $7 million back
Yeah, it
then?
was a little more than $7 million.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that is debt service in a nutshell. Moving right along, Fund 171 is capital projects. I met with Ms. Dyer to make sure that we got everything in line to transfer over to the next year. As you can see, I'm just going to point out a few things right here, and these are cost centered. What you see when you see stage right here, that's our stage grant, which will be right behind the farmer's market, and you can see the budget there is $77,000. We received the grant for $75,000, and of course that's including the match on that. Also, the DAG money, let me explain what that is. DAG stands for Direct Access Grant. So this year we received a DAG grant through the state of Tennessee. so that we're paying for a lot of things for. The next line that you see here is DAG number 2. That means that's the second round of state funding that's coming out. But I will have to say, I don't try to make a long story short, here's what's happening, folks. And I've talked to Mike Chesney about this, we're kind of, everybody's in the same boat. But honestly, there's so much money coming out right now from the states, from the federal government. Your supply chains are slowing down. All these counties and cities are buy, spend. So now the state of Tennessee is looking to delay our DAG number 2 payment. So what we were looking at to receive around, I think, $658,000 for this fiscal year, which would come around July, they're going to postpone that until January. So basically, there's still some things hanging out there saying that maybe the, 1 point whatever billion that we're getting in May has to be spent before the state sends their money. We don't know yet, so it's all kind of up in the air. But that's what's happening, folks. There's an influx of cash into the market and they can't keep up. So the state is going to probably not cancel, but pull back on that payment. But anyway, that will be within our fiscal year. So Ms. Dyer and I went through and put that in the budget as well. So if you see DAG 1, that is the DAG money we have right now that I'm finishing. DAG 2 will be projected for January, okay? Also the fire, right here, let me point that out, that is the CDBG grant to purchase the fire truck for Northeast Union Volunteer Fire Department. Also the home grant, we've got another home grant coming through, and so we put that in there as well. Let's see. Okay, the next is we've got, let's see, Ann, we didn't put the million coming in yet, right?
No, we haven't.
Okay, thank you, Ann. So what you see right here as well is the DAG 1, DAG 2. When you see that, again, that's just preliminary budgeting right now, just to put the money in a category to see what we're going to do with it. So the earmarks on the DAG 2 money that's coming in, they're going to be a little bit more strict, because if you remember, DAG 1 had earmarks, and then at the end they canceled that and said, here's $200,000 more, spend it for whatever you need to. So we were able to do whatever we wanted. But now DAG 2 is going to be a little bit more strict, which we will be audited, I'm sure, on that as well. So that's basically what all that is. There's a couple little cost center things talking about different grants that we have to carry over. But basically for 171, that's what we have planned to do in the 171 budget. And then you can see this last one here is all having to do with the state. Any questions on 171? Yes, sir.
One thing on the Northeast fire truck. What's the deal on that? I thought they had delivered that.
Oh, no, it's not even ordered yet. So here's what we do. We have to go through the bidding process. That's all through the state of Tennessee. So we accepted the bid several weeks ago and 3 or 4 weeks ago. So basically we now look at the bid to make sure the specs are where it needs to be, and then we place the order. So that's why I'm putting it in next year's budget. There's no way a fire truck's gonna be done in a month. So that's why. But no, and that's the thing too, folks, with all these grants and stuff going out, ambulances, fire trucks, people order them like crazy. So we're trying to get it as quickly as we can, but again, it is what it is. So we should hopefully get that ordered soon. And I've been in close contact with Jordan, the chief there. I know he's chomping at the bit. He's ready to order that fire truck, and we're ready for him, but it's government red tape. We gotta go through it. We gotta do what we have to do. So that's why we're delayed on that. Got any more questions about that? All right, Fund 172, this is Industrial Community Development. Just to point out, as I believe I did earlier in the presentation here, that basically this is the farmer's market. We sold the property in Luttrell for $70,000 that went into this budget to add to the already around $70,000 that was already there. This is basically saying, here's what we're going to do to finish up the farmer's market, and this is the rest of the budget here. Now, I do want to point out right here, when you see this site development, 724, and it's cost center grid, $50,000. Remember, folks, that is the grant that came through that KUB gave to the county that we in turn washed, well, I shouldn't say washed, but it flowed through the county to go to grid. So that's why that is there. Please do not think we paid them $50,000. It's just a pass-through grant for that company. Folks, that's it. That is the 101 budget all the way through. All we have left is basically the school system, and Dr. Carter said that is a balanced budget ready to go. But again, folks, tonight, we're not voting on anything. This is for you to take, for you to question, for you to look at. We come back in May, and we have our vote on that. So, any questions?
Any questions? Any old business?
That's me as well, Mr. Chairman, and if you guys remember at the last meeting, I thrown out the possibility of Union County working to try to get a concert here of a very, very well-known country singer. We're still trying. We've offered the money to see what's going to happen. We will know soon. If that falls through, folks, we may just look at doing a fair this year. And we can actually get a company to come up here and do a fair for us for basically, they pay us to do it. They come and they make the money. So we're really looking at that. We want to have something, whether it be a concert, whether it be a fair, we want something to bring in some tourists and do some things here in the county this year, something big. So we're looking at something coming up. But as of right now, I have nothing else to report on that.
All right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else got anything?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion, your second.
I know she's gonna.
All right, guys, I guess I'm done. Ladies, have a great night.